Hello there, everyone. I'm Ken Loggins. This is Home Folks, an opportunity for me to visit and catch up with some folks that I think the world of. A lot of you do as well. These folks all have something in common. They have some really neat stories to tell, stories that I love to hear, and you're going to love to hear as well. That's why we're here on Home Folks. These stories need to be told and need to be heard. Now, before we get started with our guest today, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ken Loggins Online. Every time a new visit drops, one of these Home Folks visits, you'll be notified. And just because it says to subscribe, we don't charge you a dime for it. Ken Loggins Online, that's the YouTube channel, the most convenient way to access these visits. And also don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Ken Loggins Online on Facebook. And if you follow us there, you'll also be among the first to know whenever a new visit of Home Folks drops. Our guest today, a 50-year career in radio, all kinds of awards, all kinds of honors. If you ever walked in this guy's office before, which I did numerous times, I'm not sure he had enough wall space for all the plaques, the awards. He served as president of the Arkansas Broadcasters. He has served on the Quorum Court in Independence County, all kinds of boards and commissions. He's been King White River, and that's just scratching the surface. So my pleasure to visit with Mr. Gary Bridgman. Thank you so much, my friend, for joining us.
Good to see you again.
It's been too long.
I know.
We got used to seeing each other pretty much every morning for a little while there. Had the pleasure of doing the morning show in Batesville with Gary for almost a decade. People, they would ask me quite often, where in the world do you guys come up with some of the stuff that you do?
Sure.
The amazing thing is it was rarely ever scripted or planned.
True.
But you and I would rarely visit before we went on air.
True.
You were across the glass in the newsroom. I was in the studio. I would start with an idea. We would riff on it. And more often than not, we had a soft landing. Now, sometimes if we didn't, it was a little clunky, but usually we got more laughs than anything else.
Right.
And I always knew when we had nailed a bit, I would turn off the mic, we would go into a commercial break or a song, and you would grin real big and give me the thumbs up, and I would say, yes, we've done it. And oh, by the way, you think doing a morning show for almost a decade, we would know just about everything about each other you could know. But I never got the story on where the air name, Gary B., actually started. Was this something that you were referred to pre-radio days, or did it start after your radio days?
I think after. It's just the way that who I was working with at the time would refer to me, and it was short. Maybe because he couldn't remember my last name.
Well, I doubt that, but it flows. It's memorable, and it's catchy. Folks have woke up to you, to your voice, passing along news headlines, in some cases breaking news, school closings. I always used to get up, and I know I'm aging us all here, but I would get up in the morning, listen for Gary B. talking about school closings sometimes. We're recording this in Deshay, Arkansas, and this is more often than not been home. Let's backtrack. Let's talk a bit about your backstory, Gary B., off the air. Let's just start from square one.
Sure. I haven't always lived in Deshay, except, quite a while, probably the last 20 years, but I've lived in Batesville for the most part. Deshay's been home for quite a while. Good people, and once I moved here, I started meeting the folks around here, and thought, I found this place, and my father helped me build this house.
Wow.
It's not a big house, small house, 3-bedroom, and I've lived here for a long time.
When you were growing up, Batesville, is that where you grew up, went to school?
For the most part, yeah, except for a few years when I lived in Arizona.
Okay.
A little place called Buckeye.
Now, what took your family to Arizona?
My father had relatives that lived there, and he had an older brother who kept wanting him to come out, and you know how that goes. And we lived there in Buckeye, where his brother had a couple of drugstores, pharmacies, and when we first got there, Dad started working there in the pharmacy for a while, but that wasn't my father.
Mm-hmm.
My father's a nail and hammer guy. He likes to build, or he did. He's passed now.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, he stayed there a little while inside working, and that just wasn't for him. So he started building homes around Buckeye and different places. He'd get as far off as Phoenix, but as far as he'd go, which was about 40 miles, I guess, from Buckeye. Buckeye's small town, 7,000 or 8,000. Buckeye is now 60-something thousand.
Oh, wow.
So I got out of there in time.
I think you did.
It's a nice place, a growing place, and I enjoyed our time there.
Were you a stellar student in school, like straight A student?
No, but I made good grades, A's and B's.
What subjects did you like most?
Oh, math, political science. I enjoyed that. That's two of my favorites.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, where did you graduate? Did you graduate
Batesville High School.
Batesville High? Mm-hmm. College, where did you?
Went to Arkansas State University over in Jonesboro.
At this point, had someone already told you that you have an aptitude for speaking, you have a talent, you have a great voice, you have a gift? Had a high school or elementary teacher or maybe somebody from church turned you on to that going into college, or was it that even on your radar?
Not really. I mean, you know how a lot of times you'll end up somewhere, but you didn't intend to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one of those things.
So you go to ESU. What's your plan? What were you thinking about majoring in?
Well, I didn't know. I thought, well, I'll spend the first 2 years kind of scoping it out and trying to figure it out. And I'd planned on going into something else, business.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some classes in it and I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, it wouldn't be too bad to do that every day. And be in the know all the time, or a lot of the know. Gradually, you know how you do, gradually turn in there. There you go.
Late 60s,
Late
early
60s,
70s?
yeah. KASU.
Mm-hmm.
And it was there then, and I guess still is.
So was that your first radio gig, your first time on air?
It was actually in Batesville.
Okay.
A little bit before my college days.
Okay, so you got kind of in on the ground floor as a high schooler.
Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I did. It was, I don't even know how I got into that. As a matter of fact, I don't recall. Must have been some reason.
That's a funny thing about radio, especially back in those days. You might have a friend and say, hey, let's go down to the radio station, and all of a sudden you're put to work. You know?
Right, that's right. You better not hang around there long. They'll put you to work.
So did you get your degree there at ASU and finish up?
I did.
Okay.
I have a 4-year degree from there. I do.
Okay. And post-graduation, did you have a plan after that? Did you have a job offer right out of college, or
no? I really didn't seek one.
Kind of find your way.
Yeah, and actually had a friend who was in the profession of teaching, and he called me up one day and he said, they need somebody up here to teach this and that, and he said, what do you think about that? And I said, not much, really. But I ended up there, so I went to Mountain Grove, Missouri.
Okay, yeah.
For a couple of years, and then I got out of teaching and on to something
What were
else.
you teaching?
Social studies.
Okay.
Political science.
That went hand in hand with your interest as a youngster.
It was my interest, so those two things.
Wow. Mountain Grove, Missouri. The things I learned about Gary B. all these years later. Had no idea.
Yeah.
the kids probably drove you nuts, and you said, "I've got to get into
Actually,
radio or do something."
I actually liked it.
I'm sure you did.
I never had a trouble with children. But I'd always tell them on the front end, there's going to be one boss in this room when you come into it, and it's going to be me. And so we get along fine when you understand that and remember that. And I enjoyed it.
Was this, I guess it was high school,
It was.
Mountain Grove, Missouri.
Uh-huh.
And then you would return to our neck of the woods.
Right.
And the radio thing would really kick in.
It
big
would.
time. And
It would.
We're going to talk about that coming up in our next segment with the one, the only, Gary Bridgman. This is Home Folks. Back in a moment. Lots more with our guest of honor here on Visit 7 of Home Folks, Gary B. It's on the way shortly. Right now, I want to remind you, please do business with our Home Folks partners. Partners like Townsend Spice and Supply, 725 East Main in Melbourne, specializing in custom spice blends, herbs, and seasonings, spicing things up for us since 1978. Sharp County Outdoors, your go-to for sales and service of used tractors, equipment, ATVs, and UTVs. Check out their brand new building next time you run by 587 Highway 62 West in Ash Flat. Mill Creek Monuments in Melbourne, family owned and operated. Give Mike Cohn a call, 870-291-7833, 870-291-7833. And Triple M Discount in Miller Poultry and Cattle for silk flowers, cemetery arrangements, hardware, tools, fresh eggs, and locally raised beef. 2412 East Main in Melbourne. It's Home Folks. I'm Ken Loggins. My pleasure to be joined on this visit by the award-winning, longtime local broadcaster, Gary Bridgman. You know him better as Gary B. Earlier we were talking about his post-college teaching stint he did in Mountain Grove, Missouri. Now we're going to get into his radio career. How did all that get started, at least here locally in the Batesville area? How you got started in radio? Of course, you had made some radio connections before you did the teaching.
Right.
So how did everything post-teaching get started?
I think I had a friend that worked down there and asked me to come by. He'd show me around. And then I got offered a part-time job working there. You went from there.
And this would have been mid-'70s, I guess.
That's about right.
Mid-'70s, and this was the AM down across the rivers where you guys were located?
KBTA.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of history there, a lot of heritage. Were you reading news? Were you on the news beat right off the bat? Were you spinning records? Were you doing everything?
Spinning records. Mm-hmm. And being host of a record show.
And was this like, did you guys, mid-'70s, what exactly were you playing music-wise? Was it country, middle of the road, rock? What was going on there?
That was a time that at KBTA you played anything and everything.
Well, you obviously got more and more involved in the business, got
right.
more responsibilities. And I remember as a youngster, the early 80s, radio really taken off here locally. I
right.
mean, it was a big deal when KWOZ came along, such a powerful signal. A big deal for me as a youngster when KZLE came on air with their rock format.
Right.
That was incredible.
Uh-huh.
And you were in on the ground floor of a lot of that. Talk about that era in the early 80s, maybe especially KWOZ's beginnings, your involvement, things like that.
Right. Preston Grace, he loved radio. He spent some time KBTA when he was growing up. And he had an opportunity to pick up a AM station, another AM station, which call letters now are KAAB. And he had a property, I think, at the bottom of Ramsey Mountain. Or anyway, we ended up there and set up shop with an AM, later added an FM to it. KWOZ, which was actually licensed to Mountain View, but we always call signed it Mountain View Batesville.
People have always asked me, why is KWOZ so clear and so powerful, such a wide coverage area? A lot of it actually has to do with elevation, with not only your power that you're outputting, but your tower site, your elevation. Right. You guys, you struck gold when you came upon that.
Right.
Tell us about that, how that works.
We did, and we had some guys in Mountain View, Dan Thomas and Judge John Dan Kemp. It was through them that we came upon it.
So you have this tower that's very powerful signal
on the highest mountain we could find.
Highest mountain over there between Mountain View and Wolf Bayou, I guess.
Right. Nothing like having a clear way to shoot. It'll go a long way.
I remember, when KWOZ first went on the air, it was a really big deal because it was a good, clear station that you could pick up and
take to Little Rock.
Exactly. Folks in southern Missouri would listen, and such a tremendous coverage area. So, like we said, radio took off. You were a part of that ride. I'm a native of Melbourne, and you have a lot of ties there, still do. Family connections in Melbourne, especially in the heyday. I was talking 80s and 90s. You would be a part of many a Pioneer Day down there, emceeing or maybe on location, broadcasting.
Right.
Talk about just your general recollections of that part of the country.
Good people. Really enjoyed, and I had some friends that lived up here, and some relatives on my wife's side of the family. And it's kind of how I got into that area and getting to know the people. And I enjoyed them, try to go to a lot of the activities that they would have. So, it was fun.
From that general era, my recollection, I graduated up at Fayetteville in 1990, and I was coming back home looking for a way to break into local radio. My dad would work with Weldon Campbell selling cars. Dad came home and said, Weldon told me you ought to go see Gary Bridgman down at Batesville. Talk with him about it.
Right.
And so I drive down to Batesville, and y'all are still in the studio on the other side of the river. I had a chance to meet you.
Yes.
And talked with you a little bit about what y'all were doing and what I was looking to do. And I'll say this, you were very kind, very accommodating, took the time to visit with me, and you didn't have to. I know you were really busy. You're always busy in radio. But you took time, you gave me advice. I knew pretty much right off the bat, I had this feeling in the back of my mind. I said, no way this guy's going to hire me today, or not even next week, but maybe I could get some advice about, how to get started. And you gave me that advice. Safely say that was the first time I'd ever met Gary Bridgman. And this had to be probably 1990, 91, something like that. I had a lot more hair by then.
Yes.
But like I said, I never, ever forgot that. Of course, I went on to work for James up at Salem for a while, but eventually found my way back. And we'll talk about that in just a while. We're going to take another quick break. We're visiting with Gary B. This is Home Folks. Gary Bridgman, our guest. And once again, don't forget, we're online at Ken Loggins Online on Facebook. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ken Loggins Online. Back with more Home Folks in just a moment. Lots more with the one, the only Gary B. coming up here on Home Folks. Right now, reminder, please do business with our Home Folks partners. It helps us when you help them. For your next dental appointment, give Sonia Hames-Wiles a call. Sonia Hames-Wiles Family Dentistry on the south side of the Court Square in Melbourne. For your next appointment, call 870-368-6666. Mike Watson, State Farm Insurance, with offices in Highland and Melbourne, and everywhere online at TalkToMikeWatson.com. Cooper's Hawk and the Hawk's Nest Grill in Melbourne, ranked number 1 in the state for 3 years straight. Come and play, come and stay. This is Home, folks. I'm Ken Loggins. Thank you so much for joining us, visiting today with Mr. Gary Bridgman, longtime local radio personality, award-winning many times over, and we're talking about his career, some career highlights. And Gary, I wanted to touch base with you. Obviously, in a 50-year radio career, you're going to cover a lot of major stories.
Yes.
Stories that stand out in your mind. You know, you thought even at the time, this is really big, this is really important.
I guess first thing comes to my mind is the flooding that occurred here, major flooding. A lot of rain upriver, and here it came. And of course, we had, for some reason in my mind, sticks 15 inches or something. I mean, it was a lot of rain. And as a result, I remember somebody called me and said, this is so-and-so, said, have you seen any of my cows floating down the river? I said, well, really? No, I haven't. I said, but I'll keep my eye out for them.
And this would have been in 82,
82,
I guess, the
yes.
82 flood.
Right. I recall we had the studio at the bottom of Ramsey Mountain.
Yeah, I mean, you were in a pretty, I guess, susceptible place with your proximity to the White River.
I'll tell you how close we were then. I could take 3 steps out the back door, and I was in the White River. That's how close it got. Mm-hmm. But, and of course, we're making all kind of arrangements to pack up what we could and move it out if we had to, and came close, but thank goodness we didn't have to, because I wasn't looking forward to that at all.
Coverage of the ascension of Bill Clinton from governor to the presidency, major story. I know you had a chance to follow that.
I did. In fact, I interviewed Bill more than once, and I always enjoyed talking with him. I never asked him a question that he couldn't elaborate on for a long. I'd have to figure out a way to come in.
There are people that are really good on the mic, and regardless of their party affiliation. I had a chance to interview former Governor Huckabee one time. He was great on radio, fantastic. And like you said, Bill Clinton was as well.
Right.
9/11, September the 11th, 2001. Do you remember being on air there at the radio station when that broke?
Yeah, as I recall, I wasn't on the air at the time, but I was getting ready. Right there, those few minutes I went on, and my goodness, that was we covered that for quite a while.
Oh yeah, it was like I know I was in Dixon, Tennessee at the time at a radio station, and we were a CBS affiliate, and we just kind of threw our hands up in the air and said, well, let's just turn up CBS radio network and let them carry it, because they know a whole lot more about it than we do. So we just, like I said, turn them up on the board, and we watch TV along with everybody else.
Yeah,
pretty much the entire day.
We basically did the same thing with ABC.
Yeah,
it was quite a time.
It's an unfortunate way, lots of times, that we mark time is by these tragedies, and then we all remember where you were when you found out JFK was assassinated, when Elvis died. Any memories of when Elvis passed away? Did you break the news on local radio?
I did.
That would have been 77.
That's right, I did, and shocker.
Did it come across, and I know this is hard to remember, it's been almost 50 years, but is it something that came across the wire? I doubt you would have had a television in the studio.
No, it was across the wire.
So many stories that you've covered, and so many personalities that you've had a chance to visit with. Other notables that you have had a chance to cross paths with that have really been memorable, not only people in politics, but you did quite a few country radio seminars in Nashville.
Right.
You have a neat Billy Ray Cyrus story that I've heard before. Tell us about how you were kind of in on the ground floor, kind of knew about Billy Ray Cyrus before anybody else did back in the early 90s.
Yeah, he was there at one of the conferences that we attended, and remember the first time I saw him, he was dancing up a storm on stage and singing too, and macking his hand. And then I met him, and very, very likable. Yeah, I see why he would be successful. Achy Breaky.
Such a huge song.
Achy Breaky Heart. I hadn't heard that in a long time.
Oh, my goodness. And country had such a renaissance resurgence in the late 80s, early 90s because of guys like Garth Brooks and George Strait and Randy Travis. And it was a great time to be in country radio.
Young, talented people like the ones you mentioned, and Garth Brooks just had that charisma as well. And wasn't that he was such a much better singer than any of them, but he
just had it.
He had it. He had that personality.
Looking back at your career in radio, technology has changed a little bit, you can say, since 1975, or past 50 years or so.
Right.
I joke with people all the time. They say, well, nothing like the good old days of radio. And I will say, well, as far as technology, the good old days weren't so good. Right now, it's so much easier. And you've been on both ends of that.
I have. It's such a big difference between what it was like when I started and today. I mean, the technology, they've embraced it much more. They were kind of skittish of new technology for years, and then all of a sudden they found out, hey, it works pretty good, You
might as well embrace it because it's not going to stop.
No, it's just going to come. And you might as well be up on the front row, as they say.
I mentioned our time together on the morning show for almost a decade,
right.
But you worked with so many more personalities that I think a lot of, folks like Ben Johnson, folks like Ramblin' Rob Stanley. My question, how did you keep your sanity all those years having to babysit a bunch like us? Myself, Ben, Ramblin' Rob, you were the common thread and the glue that kind of held it together. We always had fun. We tried to be informative, yet it helps everybody if they start their day with a smile.
That's exactly right. And I've never ran away from the lighter side myself. I always enjoyed the frolic of it all.
I remember really only getting in trouble one time with you on the morning show, and it was one listener that took exception to something that we had done. It was the anniversary of the founding of the Marine Corps.
Right.
We were talking post-newscast. We were doing one of our on-air back and forths. For some reason, the topic of Gomer Pyle came up from the Andy Griffith Show. He wanted to be in the Marine Corps, and how he would try to sing the Marine Corps anthem, and he would not do it so well. He would call it the Halls of Montezuma and all that stuff.
Right.
Well, someone took offense at that, and they let me know about it on Facebook, that they did not appreciate me making fun of the Marine Corps. And I had to, I messaged them back, and I said, that was not my intent at all. I said, we were referencing an episode of the Andy Griffith Show. And so don't get mad at me, get mad at Andy Griffith, He came up with it, had no intention. The last thing you would want to do is dishonor any of our armed forces. But she was good with that explanation, thank goodness. But it kind of made me think, if you can't even reference an Andy Griffith Show episode anymore, have we gotten to the point where we're a little bit too set off by things,
I learned a long time ago, early on in radio, that you're going to upset people and not even really know it, but
exactly.
I come to expect it because
you have a microphone, you're talking to a lot of people.
That's right.
Not everybody's going to be happy with everything that goes on.
You're
right. You should just hopefully let it roll off your shoulder and move on to the next thing.
Well, if you don't, you're in big time trouble.
Gary Bridgman, our special guest. We're going to wrap things up with Gary shortly on Home Folks. Our final segment is coming up. Stay close. Coming up, a little bit more with our very special guest, Gary Bridgman, on this edition of Home Folks. Right now, a quick reminder, please do business with our Home Folks partners. We appreciate it so much whenever you do. I know they do as well. Izard County Abstract, with an office full of names you know and trust. Miller, Rush, Caraway, Morris, Watson, and more. Serving you since 1954. And big time thanks to our friends at Future Fuel Chemical Company in Batesville, leading the way when it comes to the manufacture of specialty chemicals and biofuels. It's a visit with Home Folks. Our special guest, Gary Bridgman. I'm Ken Loggins. You might know him better as Gary B., longtime local radio personality. And Gary, we were talking a while ago about the honors, the awards, the accolades over your career. But I think knowing you as I do, your proudest accomplishment has to be your family, those daughters you have. I know I want to give you a chance to brag about them for a moment.
Well, I have 4 daughters. All of them have some likenesses, but all were so different. And one thing about it, and I always tried to do this around home, is I want them to like each other. Mm-hmm. And they've been, as they say, bestest of friends for years and years and years. I've got Megan, is a caboose. She's the youngest. Then Mary Beth, then Brooke, then Tanya. Mm-hmm. And that's the order.
Y'all did a great job raising those kids, and you've got, I guess, some grandkids now. And so that makes retirement.
Keeps it special.
Pretty busy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah. Get a lot of Dad come over and eat with us, and I end up playing with the kids. Enjoy it.
That's what it's all about.
It is.
How's retirement treating you?
Good. A lot of days I do absolutely, I tell people I do absolutely nothing, and I do a really good job of it.
So you really don't miss getting up at 3:30 or 4 anymore?
No, I do not. Of course not. Truthfully, you miss what you do after you've done it as long as I have. But actually, I don't miss having to be there every day.
Exactly. You don't necessarily miss the grind, but you miss the people, the interaction,
absolutely,
and the connections that you make.
Met a lot of interesting people in my radio time.
Now, do you have the King White River portrait in the house anywhere, or is that in your office somewhere? I know you were...
I think it's in there.
You were King White River. I remember when that happened.
Yeah, King White River.
And they had the portrait, and I called it your Jock Ewing portrait, because Jock Ewing, always at South Fork Ranch, I had that big portrait of Jock, and I said, that's your Jock Ewing portrait right there. That's a big deal. They always do a great job with that. Of course, several years back at the Water Carnival, you got to do the parade, you got to do all of that stuff.
Right.
A neat time. Aspiring students that might be listening, life advice that Gary B. would have. Mm-hmm. Your best advice for someone not only starting out in broadcasting, but who knows, they're just not really sure what their career path involves, where they want to go. What would you recommend?
Well, first of all, I'd recommend that they really, really like it, if not even love it, as they say. Because not everything comes up roses.
And it's not a job if you love it. It's just
absolutely not.
Yeah.
And you make such a good point, Ken, because I never thought of it as a job.
I didn't either.
I thought, well, it's great. I get paid for this. How about that?
I owe you such a debt of gratitude because, as we talked about, I was in Dixon Radio for a while, about 10 years, 96 to 2006. I needed to get back closer to my parents.
Yes.
Both my parents were getting older. My dad especially was having health issues. And I had a meeting with you and Ramblin' Rob Stanley,
right.
Rob Ernest,
right,
down here at Cowboys,
right,
on the east side of Batesville. And you guys said, hey, come on board. Let's do this. And so I had a chance to come back home in 2007.
Right.
Ended up spending 18-plus years down there. And like I said, many of those years on the air with you in the morning. If I hadn't have done that, probably wouldn't have adopted our son. when we did it. You don't think of sometimes maybe hiring people as, having such a huge impact on lives, but when y'all made that call and brought me back home, that really, really opened up a lot of things for Mel and myself. And like I said, I owe you a debt I can probably never repay. And I was able to take care of my folks in their senior years,
yes,
which
very important.
Exactly. Thank you, Gary B., for allowing that to happen.
I didn't know I did that.
You put that on your resume.
That's right.
Well, it's been fun. Anything you would like to leave us with before we wrap up?
I would say that enjoyable. I can't remember a year that I worked in radio, some in TV, some cable. I kind of hit them all.
Yeah.
And all of them were enjoyable. Met a lot of good people. Joe Beard comes to mind. People loved him. If you're around him, you can understand why. Yeah. It's I can think back on so many good times, and I would be pressed to find very much that I'd change.
Sure.
In my time, so yeah, it was good.
One of the most recognizable voices, I think, ever on radio anywhere, not just in our neck of the woods, the voice of Gary B. It's great to hear that voice again.
Well, good to talk to you.
And
good to see you.
Maybe we can do this again somewhere down the line and talk about just whatever we want to talk about. That's what this is for.
That's right.
Gary Bridgman, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
One of our favorite home folks of all time, and one of yours too, Gary Bridgman, local radio legend. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us here on this edition of Home Folks. Now, before we leave you, don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel to get the latest visits. You'll be notified when they drop. Ken Loggins Online, and also on the Facebook page, Ken Loggins Online on Facebook as well. For Gary B., I'm Ken Loggins. Till we visit again, take care, everyone.